Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into some pretty cool stuff, actually. AI image generation, but specifically, this new approach from OpenAI. You sent this over to me, right? It's called SCM. And yeah, you're totally right to be excited about it. I mean, it really could be a total game changer.
Yeah, for sure. SCM, it stands for Simplified Continuous Time Consistency Model.
Kitschy.
And basically boils down to this. Generating images and other media, but like way faster than we've ever seen before.
Okay, so the research mentions a 50x speed increase
Yeah.
over, existing models. That's 50 times.
Yeah.
I mean, like, to put that in perspective, right? Imagine if we could render a whole Pixar movie in, like, the time it takes to pop some popcorn. Like, that's the kind of jump we're talking about.
But yeah, and to be even more specific, OpenAI's largest SCM model, it can create a high-resolution image,
Mm.
ready, in just 0.11 seconds
Cool.
on a single A100 GPU.
Wow. See, now we're getting into the technical stuff, but, like, I think it's actually really important to understand what that kind of speed actually means, for real world applications. Like, it's not just about doing things faster, right? It's about doing, like, totally new things.
Exactly. Think about video games, for example.
Hmm.
Imagine playing a game where the environments are being generated, right? Like in real time, reacting to like every move you make.
Whoa.
Or think about like architects
Yeah.
and designers being able to create 3D models like instantly,
Yeah.
so they can experiment with all kinds of different ideas, but super fast. Even live video editing could change like a lot, become way more intuitive, more dynamic
Hmm.
with, AI assistance.
Yeah, it's like that scene in The Matrix, right, where Neo learns kung fu in like seconds, except this time it's image generation.
Right,
Okay, but let's maybe zoom in on the tech a little.
right.
The research papers, they mention that SCM is a type of consistency model. So how is that different from the diffusion models, the ones
Yeah.
that have been so popular for AI image generation?
Okay, so diffusion models, they generate images by like slowly removing noise from a random starting point.
Okay.
It's like sculpting,
Yeah.
from a block of marble, chipping away until you reveal like the statue inside. But consistency models, they're totally different. They aim to go from noise to a clean image in just one or two steps.
Oh, wow.
It's like teleporting the statue,
Yeah.
right out of the marble.
That's cool. Okay. But that also makes me wonder about, like, are there trade-offs? Does the quality suffer if you're, like, cutting so many corners?
It's a good question. And OpenAI, they admit there's a small quality gap compared to the traditional diffusion models. They use something called FID scores to measure the image quality.
Okay, so just to make sure we're all on the same page here, what exactly are FID scores and, like, why are they important?
So FID stands for Fresh Head Inception Distance. Basically, it's like a way to compare a generated image to real images from a data set.
Okay.
And lower FID scores generally mean better quality. But here's the thing. OpenAI's research, it shows that the quality difference between SEM and diffusion models, it's actually less than 10%.
Huh. So while, like, maybe the AI experts might notice a difference, like a subtle difference for most people,
Yeah.
like if you're playing a video game, you probably wouldn't even be able to tell which image was created by SCM. Seems a pretty small price to pay for, such a massive speed boost.
Yeah, I mean, and that kind of highlights an important point, right? That when we evaluate these new AI models, we need to think about like the specific application, what matters most. And if speed is like super important, then a small difference in these FID scores, it might be totally fine.
Yeah, that makes sense. Speaking of, comparisons and trade-offs, you mentioned that SCM is built upon like OpenAI's earlier work with diffusion models. Can you maybe talk a little more about that connection? I feel like I'm sensing a theme here, like building on existing knowledge. Seems like that's important in their research.
Yeah, you're right. OpenAI, they're very upfront about the fact that, their current SEM models, they still rely on these pre-trained diffusion models
Mm.
to get started. And they use a technique called consistency distillation, which is basically, the SEM model learns from this already really good diffusion model.
Oh, so it's like an apprenticeship
Well,
for the AI.
right, yeah,
So the SCM model, it gets to like, benefit from all the work that's already gone into, you know, training that diffusion model, which lets it get awesome results, but way faster.
exactly. And this approach, it's especially valuable when you're dealing with, high-resolution images and complex data sets, which can be really hard to train from scratch.
Right. So it seems like OpenAI is really pushing the boundaries with SCM, right? I mean, there's got to be a lot of potential for more development, more refinement.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And they've already, like, hinted at some even more advanced generative models
Yeah.
coming in the future. And one of their, big achievements with SCM has been simplifying the theory behind it all, which makes these models, more stable, easier to scale.
So it sounds like they've actually overcome some big challenges that were, holding back consistency models before. And the fact that they're so open about, the limitations of their models shows a real commitment to like transparency and ongoing research.
Definitely. It seems like OpenAI, they really want to not just create, groundbreaking AI,
Mm.
but also to understand it
Yeah.
deeply and then like share that understanding with the world.
Yeah, and that's what makes these deep dives so cool, right? It's not just about the tech, it's about what it means and what it might mean, for the future.
Well said. And speaking of the future, I mean, the potential applications for SCM, they're huge. Let's dive into some of those specific use cases and, explore how this tech could change everything from entertainment to like scientific research.
All right, so let's shift gears a little bit here
Yeah.
and, explore some of those real-world applications. I mean, I'm especially like intrigued by the impact this could have on video games, it sounds like. Like we're about to see some seriously immersive and dynamic gaming experiences.
Yeah, and it's not just about, better graphics, although I mean those will be impressive. But imagine like playing a game where the environment like it reacts to your choices
Yeah.
in real time. So instead of those, static pre-designed levels, you're interacting with a world that's like evolving around you.
So it's like the difference between, watching a movie and like stepping into an interactive
Same
story,
thing.
like your actions shape not just the story, but like the world you're in. That's
We
crazy.
think about like the possibilities for character development,
Yeah.
storylines that, could be generated on the fly, tailored to like your unique gameplay. That would be next level personalization.
Yeah. Speaking of, creative potential, the impact on like 3D modeling, I mean, that could be huge. Architects, product designers, even medical professionals, they could all benefit from like the speed and flexibility of this.
Yeah, totally. Instead of spending, hours or days creating these detailed 3D models,
Yeah.
imagine being able to like just sketch out a rough idea
Mm.
and then have the AI instantly generate like a fully realized model
Yeah.
with all the, structural analysis, material specs, all
It
that.
would be like having a super powered design assistant,
Yeah.
able to explore like tons of iterations, possibilities, all in a few seconds.
Exactly.
What might have taken, weeks could now be done in like an afternoon.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that speed wouldn't just, streamline the design process. It would free up designers to like be more creative,
Yeah.
more experimental.
Hmm.
They can really push the boundaries, knowing they have this like this crazy powerful tool to work with.
And let's not forget about, the impact on video editing. You mentioned that SCM could make high quality video production more, accessible to everyone. Can you like expand on that a little?
Yeah, so right now, creating professional looking videos usually requires like expensive software, specialized skills. But with SEM, you can imagine being able to edit videos seamlessly with like AI assistance,
Yeah.
removing parts you don't want, adding special effects,
Right.
even generating entirely new footage to fill in gaps, all with a few, simple commands.
So we're talking about like democratizing video production. So
Yeah.
suddenly anyone, with a story to tell could have access to tools that, were only for like Hollywood studios before.
Exactly, and that could have like a huge impact on how we share information, tell stories, connect with each other.
Okay, so we've got video games, 3D modeling, video editing, but like those are just, a few examples. The papers mention other media too. I mean, it feels like the possibilities are like endless with this thing.
It's true. I mean, we're just scratching the surface here. And one of the things that's so exciting about this tech is that, it's not just about improving what we already have. It's about opening up these like totally new avenues for creativity and innovation.
Okay, so before we get too, carried away with all the awesome stuff SCM can do, let's be real for a second. There are still, some technical challenges that need to be addressed.
Yeah, of course. And even though the quality gap between SCM and those, traditional diffusion models is small, closing it completely, that's still a top priority.
And what about that reliance on the, pre-trained diffusion models for consistency distillation? Is that like something researchers are actively trying to, move away
Yes,
from?
yeah, for sure. Developing ways to train consistency models from scratch.
Yeah.
Without needing those diffusion models. That's a big area of research right now. And it would make these models, even more powerful, more versatile.
It sounds like there's a lot of really exciting research still to be done. But even now, right? SEM, it represents a fundamental shift in how we think about AI content creation.
Totally agree. We're moving towards a world where AI can generate, incredibly realistic and complex content
Hmm.
in real time
Right.
with like minimal cost. And that has implications for like practically every industry out there.
So it's not just about, cool pictures and videos popping up on our screens like
Right.
instantly. It's about a whole like transformation in how we create and consume and interact with information. That's pretty profound.
It really is. And it underscores, how important it is to stay informed and engaged with all this stuff because it's going to impact all of us in one way or another.
That's why we do these deep dives, right?
Yeah.
To break down these like complex topics and make them, accessible to everyone. Because ultimately, the future of AI is something we're all going to shape together.
Well said. And as we explore all these possibilities, it's also really important to remember, the potential downsides too.
Right.
Like while there's no evidence to suggest, any ethical concerns specifically with SCM, any powerful technology, it can be misused.
Mhm.
So, it's important to be mindful of those risks as we move forward.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's like we're on this like crazy roller coaster of technological advancement. And we need to figure out how to like steer it responsibly. We
Mhm.
need safeguards, ethical guidelines to make sure that SCM and other AI tech are used for, good.
It's a complex challenge, but I'm optimistic. I think we can find solutions,
Yeah.
We have brilliant people all over the world working on this stuff. And by, fostering open dialogue and collaboration, I think we can create a future where AI is a force for, positive change.
Yeah, I share your optimism, and I think it's important to remember that we're not, passive observers in this. Like we all have a role to play in shaping the future of AI.
Totally. We need to stay informed, ask the hard questions, and
For
and
that.
have real discussions about, the potential benefits and the risks
Mhm.
of all this. The choices we make now, they're going to have a lasting impact on how AI shapes our world.
Yeah. It really is amazing to think about, like how much responsibility we actually have in shaping the future of all this. But it's also really inspiring. Like it feels like we're on the edge of something, a whole new era of creativity
Yeah.
and innovation.
It really is a unique time,
Yeah.
in history. We're at this point where like this tech revolution is happening and it's up to us to guide it, to do it
Yeah.
right.
And speaking of doing it right, I want to go back to something we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
You mentioned that the research papers they refer to, other media besides, images and videos. What are some of those other possibilities beyond what we've already talked about?
Well, one area with a ton of potential is audio generation. Like, imagine being able to create, realistic sound effects, music, even voiceovers
Yeah.
using AI.
Whoa. So instead of like, searching through those giant audio libraries or hiring voice actors, you could just describe what you want and the AI, it just like makes it for you.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be incredible for like filmmakers, game developers, even, podcasters, anyone working with audio really.
Right. And think
Mhm.
about like personalized audio. Imagine listening to like a news report where the AI narrator, it changes its tone and delivery based on what you're interested in.
Uh.
Or having AI compose
Yeah.
like a unique piece of music
Mhm.
based on, your mood.
That's wild. It seems like, the line between human creativity and AI generated content is getting blurrier and blurrier. But I think that also gives us a chance to like rethink what creativity even means in this, new world.
Yeah, I agree. AI can be this really powerful tool for amplifying human creativity.
Yeah.
Yeah, not replacing it.
Yeah.
It can help us explore new ideas, overcome limitations, and really push the boundaries.
And speaking of pushing boundaries, I want to touch on one more area where I think SCM could have a really big impact. Scientific research. How could this tech be used to help us understand the world better?
Imagine scientists being able to like simulate complex things
Mm.
in real time,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
using AI generated visualizations to see these intricate processes that were like really hard to study before.
So instead of using like static models or limited data, they could interact with these like dynamic simulations that change and respond to their questions. I mean, that would be huge for fields like climate science,
Yeah.
astrophysics, even medicine.
Totally. AI could become this like super powerful tool for making discoveries, helping us unlock new insights and speed up innovation.
It's really amazing to think about all the ways that SCM and other AI tech are gonna, keep evolving and impact our world. But I think, it's important to remember that with great power comes great responsibility, right?
Absolutely.
We need to make sure that these tools are used ethically, for the good of everyone.
That's a really crucial point. We have to be proactive in addressing the risks, developing safeguards, and having these open discussions about, the ethics of AI.
And it's a conversation that everyone needs to be a part of, not just, AI experts or policymakers. We're all have a stake in this.
Absolutely. The
Well,
more we understand about AI, the better we'll be at, making good decisions and guiding its development in the right direction.
all right, well, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. But before we go, I want to thank you, for listening, for joining us on this amazing journey.
It's been great exploring all this with you.
And remember, the exploring, it doesn't end here. Keep learning, keep asking those questions, and keep pushing those boundaries. The future of AI, it's in our hands.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.